Frank Lampard's midfield at Chelsea is already pretty stacked / overloaded. So let's talk, Craig Burley, about who the three most important midfielders are. And let's remember that Hakim Ziyech is coming in as well, so we can include him in this list. But we're seeing a situation where when certain players are being left out, the fans are getting upset. It's dividing opinion. One of those is Jorginho. So what do you make of him?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's almost since Jorginho's not been able to go to the barbers and he's grown that big hairstyle, Frank's left him out because he seemed to be flavour of the month before this lockdown. In fact, him and Kante were in the side together. He was playing a little bit more progressive, because a lot of people thought, last season, clearly he's a good player and he can pass the ball, but he doesn't pass it forward enough times for me. And I think we started to see a bit more of that. The trouble is, I always think, and Sarri played him in that defensive position, is the defensive part of his game is probably the weakest. When you look at N'Golo Kante, the defensive part of his game is one of the strongest. But it is strange because here was the situation yesterday again in the Crystal Palace game where Kante wasn't available and young Billy Gilmour played, the young Scotsman, and Jorginho was on the bench again. So I think, Kate, at the moment, if you said to me, what midfield is Frank Lampard going to pick for the next game, I don't think I could give you an answer, to be honest.
Well, Craig, you just mentioned Billy Gilmour. He said that he's been working extra hard on the technical side of his game, on the creativity. He is only young, but do you think that's showing?
Well, it's good to hear that he's working on that side of his game because that's the strongest part of his game. So it's obviously he wants to get better. I'm sure Stevie Clarke, the Scottish manager, will want him to get better because we don't have enough good players, as you know. I saw a couple of journalists arguing yesterday about how they're going to fit Kieran Tierney from Arsenal and Andrew Robertson in the Scotland team. I said, I don't care. Just get them in the team, because we haven't got enough. And it's good to see young guys coming through. I thought when he played against Leicester, Frank Lampard took him off after 45 minutes the game before because he didn't have a very good game. I think it was the FA Cup. But I never criticise young guys, really. And, I'll never shy from criticising, but I always hold back with younger players because they're learning their trade and they're going to make mistakes. And he's getting some game time, and that's a good thing. So clearly, Frank Lampard rates him. But it's a learning process for him, and it's a tough gig to come into, going for that top four. It's tight, into a big club that's usually challenging for the Premier League and the European competition. So he's one of a host of midfield guys. I know we're going to discuss them. He's one of a host of midfield guys that Frank Lampard's got options on.
Yeah, in that game we saw Mason Mount. What do you make of him?
Do you know, think about it, Mason Mount was on loan at Derby with Lampard in the Championship. Tammy Abraham was on loan with Villa in the Championship last season. They've both come up big time for Lampard. Mason Mount's played some part of every Premier League game. So that's testament to his consistency. And he's flexible in terms of he can play wide, he can play behind the front man, he can jump back into midfield. I've been really impressed with him because I didn't think he would be able to make that jump from playing with Derby and getting to the playoffs last year into a Premier League side that had a transfer ban, lost its best player to Real Madrid and Eden Hazard. And Mason Mount has impressed me big time because his consistency of performance for a young man has been excellent.
Also in the midfield, we saw Ross Barkley, and I know he can divide opinion, and I know we've seen ups and downs with him. What do you think about him right now?
Yeah, he does divide opinion, but clearly Lampard thinks he can do a job for him. I just think when I look at Ross Barkley, both Everton, England and Chelsea have still to see the best of him because there's more goals in him. He's a strong guy. He's at a great age now where he's got all the experience he needs. And we know there's more to come from Ross Barkley. And I think that's what Frank Lampard will be saying to him. Listen, you're doing well for me, but you can do even better. And I just get that feeling with Barkley. I don't know if it's confidence. I don't know, not quite sure what it is, or a run of games. But I think Barkley's doing well, but I don't think he's yet convinced Lampard or even Gareth Southgate that he's a guy who's going to do it for like Lampard himself did. Every season, bang, double-figure goals, guaranteed almost. And I think that's what he's looking for his midfielders. He knows there's something in there with Barkley, but he needs to see that consistency.
What do you think he sees in Mateo Kovacic?
He sees a player that is performing like he was maybe in the early days of Real Madrid. And, again, can do a little bit of everything, can pick a pass, can tackle, can score goals, good from set pieces. And you know, I think, you know, he's got so many options in there, and that's, you know, one of the reasons we're discussing this is, you know, what is Lampard, what is his best three in there? And I think it's hard to nail down. But I think when all things are equal, I don't think Barkley's probably in there, but I think at the moment, if Lampard was pushed, say it was an FA Cup final, or, well, there's a semi-final coming up, but you know, the final game to try and get in the top four, I think a fit Kovacic would be in that midfield three if that's the way Chelsea were playing, and I think that's the way Lampard sees it.
And with Ziyech coming in, do you think he'll make the starting 11 next season?
Good grief, I'm not sure. You know, with the way Pulisic is playing, you know, Hudson-Odoi might get some game time and nail it down. He's probably the player under most threat of spending most time on the bench, Hudson-Odoi. Then what's he going to do with Timo Werner? Is he going to play him through the middle, or is it going to continue with an Abraham or a Giroud for the physical presence and push Werner onto the wider position? But then he's played left for Leipzig. That's where Pulisic is playing. Listen, this is a great problem to have for Frank Lampard in a playing sense, but the difficulty is keeping all these guys happy. You know, I've seen this at football clubs. You know, guys get peeved when they're not playing, and you're going to have to be rotating a lot. If he doesn't sell players, or we don't move players on at Chelsea, if Chelsea don't move players on, he's going to have to be really good at the rotation. Otherwise, he's going to have a lot of unhappy campers. But I think Ziyech will come in, probably play on the wide position, and I think he'll get game time. But it's how he fits the rest of them. And don't forget, he brought Loftus-Cheek on, was another midfielder who's fit again after a long time in the sidelines. He brought him on at Palace yesterday because he wanted a big, strong guy who's a talent. And he is. Another Englishman, keep it quiet. But he wanted him on because he can shield the ball. He's so big and strong. He can shield the ball. And the little beautiful pass he played for Abraham, the little flick, is a testament to his talent. So there's another option that Frank Lampard's got. He might need a few centre-halves, by the way, but he's got plenty of midfielders.
Yeah, and obviously it's one of the finest midfielders in the Premier League during his time, so we will have to trust his opinion. It will be interesting to see going forward who he starts with next season.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.